The space station was quiet. Too quiet. High above the Earth, the International Space Station moved fast, but inside, everything felt slow. Outside the windows, the planet looked calm and blue. No borders. No noise. Just clouds, oceans, and light. Inside the station, 3 astronauts floated silently. They had finished their mission. Months in space were finally over, but the most dangerous part had not even started. One astronaut looked at the small screen in front of him. Numbers moved. Lights blinked. Everything looked normal. But he did not relax. He knew space never gives warning. Another astronaut slowly moved closer to the window. Earth was there. Home was there. It looked close, but it was still very far away. The commander took a deep breath. "Prepare for final check," he said calmly. His voice was steady, but his heart was not. This was the moment they trained for again and again. Leaving the space station was not just a goodbye. It was a test. A test of machines. A test of humans. A test of survival. Far below, on Earth, the mission control room was awake. Dozens of people watched screens. Engineers, scientists, flight controllers. They had coffee in their hands and stress on their faces. Every small signal from space mattered. One red light suddenly blinked. An engineer leaned forward. "Check channel B," he said. Another screen changed. For 1 second, everything froze. Then a voice came through the speaker. "Mission control. This is station." The room went silent. The commander's voice was calm. But something was wrong. "We have a problem." Those 4 words changed everything. On the space station, the astronauts looked at each other. Training told them to stay calm. Fear told them to hurry. A system was not responding. It was a small system. But it was connected to something very important. The undocking system. Without it, they could not leave the station. Without leaving, they could not go home. Mission control replied quickly. "Station. Repeat the issue." The commander looked at the panel again. "The primary release system is not confirming," he said. "We are checking backup." Seconds felt like minutes. The space station continued to fly around Earth at high speed. The sun moved in and out of view. Light. Darkness. Light again. Inside the station, sweat floated as tiny drops. Backup system check started. One astronaut read numbers aloud. Another followed the checklist step by step. No rush. No panic. One mistake could make things worse. On Earth, mission control worked fast. Teams spoke at the same time. Screens showed diagrams. Past missions were pulled up. Data was compared. This problem had happened before, but never this close to undocking. Never with this much pressure. "Station," mission control said. "We see the issue. We are working on a solution." The commander closed his eyes for a moment. Working on a solution was good, but time was not their friend. If they stayed too long, their return window could close. Weather on Earth could change. Landing zones could become unsafe. Space gives chances, but it also takes them away. Minutes passed. Then suddenly, another alarm. A soft but sharp sound filled the station. The commander opened his eyes. "Power fluctuation," one astronaut said. Now, there were 2 problems. On Earth, a flight controller stood up. "This is getting serious," he said. Everyone knew it. The return capsule was ready. Supplies were limited. The astronauts had already packed their lives into small bags. Personal photos, flags, memories. They were ready to leave. But space was not ready to let them go. Mission control made a decision. "Station," they said. "We need you to perform a manual system reset." Manual. That word was heavy. Manual meant risk. Manual meant no second chance. The commander nodded. Even though no one could see him. "Copy," he said. He moved slowly to the control panel. His hands were steady, but his mind was racing. He remembered training on Earth, cold rooms, simulators, instructors, watching every move. This was not training. This was real. He reached for the switch. Paused. Then flipped it. For a moment, nothing happened. The station felt like it was holding its breath. Then a light changed. Green. Backup system online. One astronaut smiled. Just a little. But the main problem was still there. Mission control checked the data again. Station, they said carefully. We may need to delay undocking. The word delay hit hard. Delay meant waiting. Waiting in space is never easy. The commander floated near the window again. Earth passed below. Night lights sparkled like stars. So close, yet still unreachable. We understand, he replied. But inside, he felt the weight. Every astronaut dreams of space. But every astronaut wants to return. Mission control continued. We are sending you new steps. Follow them exactly. New steps meant new risks. The astronauts listened carefully. Each step was slow. Each move was careful. Each second mattered. Finally, after long minutes, the screen showed a message. System ready. The commander read it twice, then looked at mission control. Confirm. He said the room on Earth held its breath. Data streams moved. Numbers matched. Signals aligned. Then the answer came. Station. Mission control said, you are go for undocking. For a moment, no one spoke. Then the commander smiled. Copy. Go for undocking. But deep inside, everyone knew the truth. This was only the beginning. Leaving the space station was just the first step. The real danger was still ahead. Fire. Speed. Silence. And a long fall back to Earth. As the astronauts prepared for undocking, one last message echoed through the station. A reminder. Astronauts, mission control said softly, stay safe. We are with you. The commander looked at his crew. Let's go home, he said. And far above the calm blue Earth, the most dangerous journey of their lives was about to begin. The green light stayed on, but no one celebrated. In space, a green light does not mean safety. It only means the next step has begun. The astronauts moved slowly toward the return capsule. Every movement was calm, trained, and careful. Floating through the narrow tunnel, they did not speak much. Words were not needed. Each one knew what the others were thinking. This was the moment of separation. Behind them was the space station. In front of them was uncertainty. The commander entered the capsule first. He checked every switch again, even the ones already checked. In space, trust is good, but checking is better. One by one, the astronauts followed. They closed the hatch. A soft metal sound echoed. Inside the capsule, that sound meant one thing. No way back. Space station was now on the other side of a thin metal door. Mission control's voice came through the peaker. Capsule crew, confirm hatch closure. The commander answered calmly. Hatch closed. Seals holding. On Earth, engineers watched pressure numbers. One wrong change could mean disaster. But the numbers stayed steady. The capsule was alive. Outside, the space station looked massive. Solar panels spread like giant wings. For months, it had protected them, fed them, kept them alive. Now, it was time to leave it behind. The commander looked through the small window. This is it, he said quietly. Undocking sequence started. Small mechanical sounds filled the capsule. Hooks and locks began to release one by one. Each click was loud in the silence of space. Click, pause, click, every second felt heavy. Mission control spoke again. Stand by for separation. No one moved. No one breathed. Deeply, the final lock released. Capsule gently pushed away from the station. At first, it moved so slowly that it felt like nothing was happening. But the distance grew. Inch by inch. Meter by meter. The space station was no longer connected. They were free. They were alone. The capsule drifted backward. Small thrusters fired softly, pushing it away. Blue lights flashed outside. The commander watched the station grow smaller. For the first time, fear touched his mind. If something failed now, there was nowhere to return. Mission control stayed quiet for a few seconds. Then, separation confirmed. A deep breath filled the capsule, but relief did not last long. The next phase had already begun. The capsule rotated slowly, turning its heat shield toward Earth. This movement had to be perfect. Too much rotation, and control could be lost. Too little, and the angle would be wrong. Wrong angle meant burning. One astronaut read the numbers. Rotation stable. Another checked. Fuel. Thrusters nominal. Everything sounded good, but space is famous for surprises. Suddenly, the capsule shook. Not hard. Just enough to be noticed. What was that? One astronaut asked. The commander checked the screen. A warning message flashed. Minor attitude drift. Small problem. But small problems in space grow fast. Mission control noticed it too. Capsule. We see a drift. Confirm. Confirmed, the commander replied. Correcting now. The thrusters fired again. Short bursts. Careful bursts. Fuel was precious. They could not waste it. For a moment, the drift stopped. Then it returned. Stronger. The capsule slowly turned off its planned path. On Earth, tension returned. Engineers spoke fast. Hands moved across keyboards. Calculations ran again. This drift should not be happening. One engineer said. Mission control spoke calmly, hiding the worry. Capsule. Switch to secondary guidance. The commander did not hesitate. Copy. Switching. The screen blinked. For 2 seconds, it went black. Inside the capsule, silence returned. Then the screen came back. Secondary guidance online. The drift slowed. Then stopped. Everyone waited. 5 seconds. 10 seconds. The capsule stayed steady. Mission control exhaled. Good correction, they said. But no one smiled, because the Earth was getting closer. The blue planet filled more of the window now. Clouds moved slowly. Sunlight reflected off oceans. It looked peaceful, but the astronauts knew better. Below that beauty waited heat, fire, and extreme force. The commander checked the time. Re-entry was coming. Very soon. Capsule. Mission control said, you are on track. Prepare for final orbit. Final orbit. The last time they would circle Earth in space. After this, gravity would take over. The capsule moved fast. Very fast. Faster than any plane. Faster than sound. The Earth below disappeared and returned again as they passed from day to night. Inside, the astronauts strapped themselves tightly into their seats. Helmets locked. Visors down. Breathing steady. This was the point of no return. The commander spoke softly. Crew ready. Mission control replied, we are with you. As the capsule approached the invisible line of Earth's atmosphere, a quiet warning appeared on the screen. Re-entry sequence armed. The astronauts looked at each other. No fear in their faces. Only focus. Only trust. Outside, the air waited, and it was about to strike. The warning light turned red. Re-entry had begun. The capsule was now moving faster than sound, faster than any plane ever built. Outside, the thin air of Earth started to touch the spacecraft. At first, nothing looked different. No sound. No light. Then the shaking started. Not gentle. Not slow. The capsule vibrated, like it was alive. Inside, the astronauts felt the force press against their bodies. Their seats pushed back. Breathing became heavy. Even lifting a finger felt hard. Gravity had returned. After months of floating, their bodies were not ready. But there was no choice. Earth was pulling them back. The commander spoke calmly, even as the capsule shook. Hold steady. Follow training. Outside, air turned into fire. Friction created extreme heat. The capsule's heat shield faced temperatures hotter than lava. Flames wrapped around the spacecraft, forming a glowing wall of orange and white. From Earth, the capsule looked like a falling star. Inside, the astronauts could not see the fire, but they could feel it. The metal walls grew warm, then hot, then hotter. A loud roar filled the capsule, but it was not sound from outside. It was the sound of plasma. The air around the capsule was burning. Mission Control watched the data closely. Heat rising. Speed dropping. Everything looked normal. Too normal. Then silence. The signal from the capsule disappeared. The screens on Earth froze. Telemetry, an engineer said. Another checked. Again, communication. Blackout. Everyone knew this moment would come. During re-entry, the burning air blocks radio signals. For several minutes, the astronauts were completely alone. No voice. No help. No updates. Only trust. Inside the capsule, the crew knew it too. The commander looked at the clock. Blackout phase, he said. One astronaut whispered, just like training. But training had never felt like this. The shaking grew stronger. Capsule tilted slightly, then corrected itself. Then tilted again. Each movement was automatic, controlled by computers. But computers can fail. Sweat ran down their faces. Their hearts beat fast. Their bodies felt like they weighed 5 times more than normal. The commander tried to move his hand. It felt like lifting a mountain. Outside, fire continued to rage. The heat shield did its job. Layer by layer, it burned away, carrying heat with it, sacrificing itself to save the crew. Time slowed. Seconds felt endless. On Earth, Mission Control waited. No one spoke. No one moved. They stared at the clock. 30 seconds. 1 minute. 2 minutes. Still nothing. This was the most dangerous silence in spacecraft. Inside the capsule, a warning light flashed. Not red. Yellow. A minor alert. But in this moment, even a minor alert felt deadly. One astronaut tried to read the message. His voice was slow. Temperature within limits. Relief came, but only slightly, as shaking reached its peak. The capsule felt like it might break apart. The commander closed his eyes. Trusted the shield. He trusted the design. He trusted the people on Earth. Suddenly, the shaking began to fade. The fire outside weakened. The roar softened. The force on their bodies slowly reduced. They were passing through the worst part. Then, a soft beep, a green light. One astronaut smiled inside his helmet. We're through, he said. But Mission Control still heard nothing. Then, after long minutes of silence, a signal blinked back on. A weak signal. Then clearer. Then strong. Mission Control exploded with movement. We have signal. The room filled with noise. Capsule, this is Mission Control. Do you read? Inside the capsule, the commander opened his eyes. His voice was tired but alive. Mission Control, he said. We read you. Cheers broke out on Earth, but the mission was not over. The capsule was still falling. Fast. Very fast. Next phase was approaching. Parachutes. If they failed, nothing could stop the fall. Inside the capsule, the astronauts prepared. Hands Ready. Eyes on the screen. The commander spoke quietly. Stand by for parachute deployment. Outside, the fire was gone. Below them waited clouds, wind, and ground. Most violent part was over, but one final test remained. Gravity. Speed. And a thin piece of fabric standing between. Life and disaster. The capsule was falling. Not gently. Not slowly. It was falling like a stone pulled by gravity. Outside, the fire was gone, but danger was still everywhere. The air was thicker now. The capsule cut through clouds at extreme speed. Wind pushed from every direction. Inside, the astronauts felt lighter. The crushing force was easing, but that did not mean safety. It only meant the next test had arrived. Commander watched the timer. Parachute deployment was close. Too early. And the parachutes could tear apart. Too late. And there would be no time left. Timing was everything. Mission control spoke clearly. Capsule. Prepare for drogue parachutes. The word prepare carried fear, because nothing had happened yet, and everything depended on what would happen next. Inside the capsule, the astronauts checked their screens again. Heartbeats were loud inside helmets. Breathing sounded heavy. One astronaut tightened his straps. Another closed his eyes for a second. The commander spoke softly. Stay focused. Outside, the capsule shook again. Not like before. This shake felt different. More violent. Air pushed harder now. The capsule spun slightly, then corrected, then spun again. Mission control saw it. Capsule. We see rotation. Confirm. The commander answered. Confirmed. Holding. They could do nothing but trust the system. The timer reached 0. A sharp sound echoed inside the capsule. Pop. The first parachute deployed. A small one. The drogue parachute. The capsule jerked hard. The astronauts were pulled forward in the air. Seats. Speed dropped suddenly. Drogue confirmed, one astronaut said. Mission control checked the data. Speed decreasing. Rotation stabilizing. Everything looked good, but only for now. The drogue parachute's job was simple. Slow the capsule. And prepare for the main parachutes. Those parachutes were huge. And fragile. If they failed, no one finished that thought. Seconds passed. The capsule dropped lower. Wind noise grew louder. The commander stared at the screen. Main parachutes in 5, 4, 3. Mission control whispered. Come on. 2, 1. A loud explosion-like sound hit the capsule. Bang. Then another. Bang. Nothing. No slowing. No strong pull. Just falling. Inside the capsule, fear exploded. Do we have mains? One astronaut asked. The commander checked the screen. His voice stayed calm. Stand by. On Earth. Screens showed confusion. 2 parachutes were supposed to open, but the data was unclear. Mission control to capsule. A controller said quickly. Confirm main chute deployment. A long second passed. Then the capsule shook again. Harder. The force slammed the astronauts back. Their bodies pressed into the seats. Capsule slowed. Fast. Very fast. The main parachutes had opened. All of them. Huge white and orange fabric filled the sky above the capsule. They pulled against gravity with everything they had. Speed dropped from deadly to survivable. One astronaut laughed inside his helmet. Another whispered, "Thank you." The commander closed his eyes. For just a moment. Mission control confirmed it. All main parachutes deployed. Cheers broke out on Earth. Hands clapped. Some people wiped tears. But the capsule was still not on the ground. Dot it was still. Falling. Dot just slower now. Below. Clouds moved past the window. Dot and land appeared. Dot brown. Dot green. Dot real. Dot Earth was no longer a picture. Dot it was waiting. The capsule swayed under the parachutes. Wind pushed it left and right. The motion made the astronauts dizzy, but no one complained. They were alive. Dot mission control gave final instructions. Brace for landing. The astronauts adjusted their seats. Dot heads back, arms tight, chins down. The commander spoke calmly. Landing in 60 seconds. Every second felt heavy. Dot the ground came closer. Appeared. Dot trees. Dot fields. Dot dust. The capsule rotated slightly, lining up for impact. Dot 30 seconds. Wind pulled hard. Parachute stretched and held. Dot 20 seconds. Commander's voice was steady. Almost there. 10 seconds. The capsule dropped faster. Dot 5. Dot 4. Dot 3. A sudden blast fired under the capsule. Landing rockets. They fired for only a moment. Just enough to slow the final fall. Then impact. Dot the capsule hit the ground hard. Dot dust exploded around it. The force slammed through the structure. Dot inside. The astronauts were thrown forward, then backward, then still. Dot silence. Dot no alarms. Dot no movement. For a moment, no one spoke. Then the commander's voice broke the quiet. Crew, report. One by one, voices answered. Good, good, all good. Mission control waited. Dot, and the commander spoke again. Mission control, we are down. The room on Earth erupted. Dot applause. Dot cheers. Dot relief. Dot years of work ended in that one sentence. Outside the capsule, dust slowly settled. The parachutes fell to the ground like tired wings. Inside, the astronauts waited. Recovery teams were on the way. The journey through space was over, but the return to Earth had changed them forever. And as the capsule rested quietly on the planet they left months ago, one truth was clear. That space does not forgive, it only allows. The capsule did not move. Outside, the world was silent again. Dust slowly fell back to the ground. The parachutes lay flat like tired flags. For the first time in months, nothing was floating. Everything had weight. Dot inside the capsule. The astronauts stayed in their seats. They were home, but home did not feel normal. Gravity pressed down on their bodies. Their arms felt heavy. Their heads felt full. Even breathing felt different. Dot the commander tried to move his hand. Dot it shook. Dot his body remembered space. Not Earth. Dot one astronaut laughed softly. I forgot how heavy I am, he said. But his voice sounded weak. Dot mission control spoke through the speaker. Capsule crew, remain seated. Recovery teams are approaching. Outside, vehicles moved across the land. People in white suits walked toward the capsule. Cameras followed every step. Inside, the astronauts waited. Dot time felt slow. Dot not dangerous. Slow. Dot just strange. The commander looked around. Dot everything inside the capsule was small, tight, used. This place had protected them through fire and fear. Now it felt like a shell they had outgrown. A loud knock echoed from outside. Recovery team had arrived. The commander answered. Copy. The hatch bolts unlocked. Metal creaked. Air hissed. The hatch slowly opened. Fresh Earth air rushed inside. It smelled different. Heavy. Real. One astronaut closed his eyes. I missed this, he whispered. Sunlight was bright. Too bright. After months of artificial light, Earth's sun felt powerful, warm, honest. The recovery team leader spoke calmly. Welcome home. The commander tried to smile. His face felt stiff. One by one, the astronauts were carefully helped out. They did not stand on their own. Strong hands supported them. Their legs were weak. Their balance was gone. Gravity showed no mercy. First astronaut touched the ground. His knees bent. His body wanted to fall. The team held him. He laughed again. This time louder. "I'm okay," he said. But everyone knew he was not okay yet. The commander followed as his boots touched Earth. Something strange happened. His mind said, "Stand." His body said, "No." He felt dizzy. The ground seemed to move. The sky felt too big. He closed his eyes and took a breath. Slow. Deep. The recovery team guided him to a chair. They sat all three astronauts down, wrapped in blankets, surrounded by people. Cameras clicked. The astronauts barely noticed. Their bodies were busy. Remembering. Remembering weight. Remembering balance. Remembering how to be human again. Astronaut looked down at his hands. They trembled slightly. "In space," he said, "everything listens to you." He lifted his hand slowly. "But here, Earth decides." The commander smiled. "That's gravity," he said. Doctors checked their eyes, their heartbeats, their blood pressure. Everything was watched. Every detail mattered. Mission control listened to. From far away. From rooms full of screens, they had guided the crew through space. Now Earth would guide them back to normal life. The commander looked toward the horizon. The land stretched far and wide. No curves. No black space. No endless silence. Only wind. Only sky. Only life. He felt relief. Deep relief, but also something else. Quiet sadness. Space had changed them. They had seen Earth from above. Fragile. Beautiful. Alone. One astronaut spoke softly. From up there, it all looks so small. The commander nodded. And so important. A helicopter approached. Wind kicked up dust. Again, the sound was loud. Real. Very real. They were helped up once more. Slow steps. Careful steps. Each step felt like learning to walk again. As they moved toward the helicopter, the commander looked back at the capsule. It sat quietly on the ground. Burn marks. Scratches. Scars. It looked tired. Just like them. "That thing," he said, "brought us home." The helicopter doors closed. Engines roared. As they lifted off. The landing site grew smaller. The capsule became a ... Then nothing. But the journey was not over. Not really. Because returning from space is not just about landing. It is about healing. Learning. And carrying the experience forever. Far above. The space station continued to circle Earth. New astronauts. New missions. New risks. But for these three, the story was changing. Space was behind them. Earth was in front of them. And life would never feel the same again. Body. The helicopter moved away from the landing site. Below, Earth looked calm and normal. But inside the minds of the astronauts, nothing was normal. Their bodies were tired, but their minds were louder. The commander sat quietly, wrapped in a blanket. The sound of the helicopter filled the air, but he barely heard it. His thoughts were still floating somewhere above the planet. In space, time felt different. Days were marked by sunrises every 90 minutes. Night and day had no meaning. Silence was everywhere. Now, Earth felt noisy. Heavy. Fast. One astronaut stared out of the window. Trees passed below. Roads, buildings, people, living normal lives. He whispered softly, "They don't know how small they look from up there." No one replied, not because they disagreed. But because they understood too well. At the medical center, doctors waited. Bright lights, clean rooms, soft voices. The astronauts were helped out again. slowly and carefully. Their steps were better now, still shaky. Improving. Doctors checked everything again. Muscles, eyes, balance, heart. The most important checks could not be seen. The mind, that part takes longer. The commander lay back on a bed. He closed his eyes, and suddenly he was back in. Space. Floating. Silent. Looking at Earth through the window. Blue. Fragile. Alone. He opened his eyes quickly. Room was still there. Earth was still there. But space had followed him home. Another astronaut sat nearby, holding a cup of water. His hands were steady. Now, but his eyes were distant. Keep thinking I'm floating, he said. The doctor smiled. Gently. That's normal. Normal. A strange word after an abnormal journey. Later, the astronauts were left alone for a moment. No cameras. No questions. Just quiet. The commander spoke. Do you miss it? One astronaut answered quickly. Yes. Another waited. Then said softly. I miss thee. Silence. They all nodded. Space had taken something from them. And given something back. Something hard to explain. On Earth, everything pulls you down. In space, everything lets you go. That feeling stays. Days passed. The astronauts grew stronger. Walking became easier. Standing felt normal again. But dreams were different. They dreamed of floating halls, of glowing Earth. Of alarms and silence. The commander woke up one night, heart racing. For a moment, he forgot where he was. Then he felt the bed, the floor, gravity. He breathed out slowly. I'm home, he said to himself. But home felt changed. During a quiet interview, one astronaut was asked a simple question. What did space teach you? He thought for a long time, then said that Earth is not strong. It is lucky. The commander heard that answer later. He smiled. That was exactly how he felt. From space. Earth has no walls. No lines. No borders. Just life. Just one home. Weeks later, the astronauts stood outside again, this time on their feet. No help. No chairs. The sun felt warm. The wind felt alive. Birds passed overhead. One astronaut looked up and pointed. I used to be higher then. That, he said. They laughed. But inside, the feeling was serious. They had been somewhere very few humans ever go. And they had come back. Changed. The commander stood still for a moment. He looked at the sky. Somewhere up there, the space station was moving fast. New crew. New mission. Same risks. He knew one truth now. Leaving Earth is hard. Coming back is harder. Not for the machines, but for the heart. Because once you see Earth from space, you never see it the same way again. And that thought stays. Quiet. Heavy. Forever. The astronauts were no longer in space, but space was still with them. Days turned into weeks. Their bodies healed. Their steps became strong again. Smiles returned easily now. But when they spoke, their words carried weight. People wanted to hear their story. Not about machines. Not about numbers. But about what it feels like to leave Earth and come back. The commander stood in front of a small group. No uniform. No helmet. Just a simple jacket. He looked like any other person, but his eyes had seen something rare. He began to speak. When you are up there, he said slowly, you don't see countries. The room stayed silent. You don't see borders. You don't see lines. You only see one planet. People listened carefully. Another astronaut spoke next. Earth looks quiet from space, he said. Peaceful, but also very thin. Like it needs care. That sentence stayed in the room. Across the world, their words were shared. On screens. In classrooms. In homes. Children listened. Adults paused. Space had given these astronauts a message, and now they were delivering it. One astronaut visited a school. Children asked questions. Were you scared? One child asked. He smiled. Yes, he said. But fear means something matters. Another child asked, was Earth beautiful? He did not answer right away. Then he said, it was the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. The commander later watched that video. He remembered the first time he saw Earth from the station window, blue, bright, floating in darkness, no sound, no protection, just there, a quiet moment. The astronauts sat together again, this time on Earth. Coffee in their hands, gravity holding them down. One astronaut asked, would you go back? The commander thought carefully. Yes, he said. But I would come back again. They all smiled, because coming back was the point. Space exploration is not about leaving Earth behind. It is about understanding it better. One evening, the commander stood outside alone. The sky was dark. Stars filled the night. He looked up, somewhere above him. Humans were still orbiting, still working, still risking everything. He felt proud and responsible. From space, Earth looks like one home. From Earth. That truth is easy to forget, but he would not forget. None of them would, because once you see Earth from above, you carry it with you forever. The astronauts did not speak like heroes. They spoke like witnesses, witnesses to how fragile life really is, and how valuable. Their mission had ended safely, but their journey had a new direction. Now, not up, but outward. To share, to remind, to protect, because the greatest discovery of space is Earth itself. The mission was officially over. The papers were signed. The reports were written. The cameras slowly moved away, but the story did not end there, because some journeys do not end when you land. They end much later. Sometimes they never truly end. The astronauts had returned to Earth, but Earth felt different. Now, not because the planet had changed, but because they had. Every morning felt heavier. Not in a bad way. In a meaningful way. Gravity pressed on their bodies, but also reminded them of something important. They belonged here. The commander woke up early one morning. Sunlight entered through the window. Birds made soft sounds outside. Normal sounds. Earth sounds. For a moment, he stayed still. In space, mornings did not begin like this. There was no natural sunrise. No fresh air. No quiet life waking up. He slowly sat up. His feet touched the floor. Solid. Reliable. Real. He took a deep breath. Earth filled his lungs. He remembered how precious that air had felt when the capsule door opened after landing. How heavy it was. How alive. In space, air is borrowed. On Earth, it is a gift. Later that day, the astronauts met again. Not for a mission. Not for training. Just to talk. They sat in a simple room. No screens. No alarms. No countdowns. One astronaut broke this silence. I still feel like I'm falling sometimes. They? Others nodded. The commander smiled softly. I still feel like I'm floating. They laughed, but it was not a joke. Their minds were still learning where they were. Space stays inside you. It changes how you see time, how you see danger, how you see life. One astronaut looked at his hands. In space, he said, everything feels temporary. He paused, but on Earth, everything feels important. That thought stayed with them. Days passed. The astronauts returned to normal life. Families, friends, familiar streets, familiar food. But normal life now felt louder. People rushed. People argued. People forgot how fragile everything is. The commander noticed it. Everywhere had traffic lights. In crowded rooms. In angry voices from space. None of that mattered up there. Earth was silent. Whole, connected. One evening, the commander was invited to speak publicly. He stood on a stage. Lights bright. Faces watching. He did not talk about technology. He did not talk about rockets. He talked about perspective. When you see Earth from space, he said, you understand something very clearly. He looked at the audience. There is no backup planet. The room went quiet. Another astronaut spoke after him. We did not go to space to escape Earth, he said. We went to understand it. The audience listened. Some nodded. Some looked down. Some thought deeply. That was the real mission now. Not exploration. Awareness. Later that night, the commander stood outside again. The sky was clear. Stars were sharp. He searched for the space station. A small moving light crossed the darkness. He followed it silently. Up there, someone else was floating. Now, looking down. Seeing Earth the way he once did. He felt proud. But also careful. Space is not a dream. It is a responsibility. The commander knew something most people never experience. Leaving Earth teaches you how valuable it is. Coming back teaches you how easily it can be forgotten. Weeks turned into months. Life moved on. But the astronauts carried space inside them. One astronaut began working with young students. He showed them pictures of Earth from orbit. This is home, he said. All of it. The children stared. One child asked, why is it so dark around Earth? He smiled gently. Because space does not care, he said. Only Earth does. The message was simple and powerful. Another astronaut worked quietly. No speeches. No cameras. He spent time alone. Thinking. He wrote in a notebook. Not numbers. Thoughts. He wrote about silence. About fear. About trust. In space, you trust people you cannot see. On Earth, we forget to trust those right next to us. Commander read those notes. One day. He understood every word. Because space strips life down to basics. Air, water, heat, teamwork. Nothing else matters. One afternoon, the astronauts met one last time as a crew. They stood together for a photo. No suits. No helmets. Just people. The photographer said, smile. They did, but their smiles were different. Not excitement. Not pride. Understanding. They had faced fire. Silence. Fear. And they had come back. Not unchanged. But improved. As they walked away, the commander stopped for a moment. He looked back. At the place where their journey had ended. At the place where another journey had begun. He thought about the capsule. Burned. Scratched. Marked. It had protected them. Just like Earth protects all of us. Until we forget. The commander knew one thing. Now. Space exploration is not about going far. It is about coming back wiser. Every astronaut returns with something invisible. A reminder. A warning. A promise. Earth is enough. Earth is fragile. Earth is home. Every return from space is not just a success. It is a second chance. A chance to care more. To fight less. To remember that we all live on the same small blue world. Far above, rockets would fly again. Astronauts would leave again, but they would always return. Because the greatest discovery is not out there in the dark. It is right here, under our feet, holding. You stopped waiting for us to understand. And that is why this return mattered. Not because they survived space, but because they came back to tell us what truly matters.